Hello everyone, tonight on Now, he died serving his community. Fallen officer Nathan Desjardins is remembered at the Maine Law Enforcement Memorial.
My uncle didn't die a violent enough death.
Fallen officers remembered on the National Memorial, but not at home in Maine. Should we change the criteria for a line of duty death? Weigh in right now on our Pulse poll. And
I really didn't want to just talk the talk. I really wanted to walk the walk.
For the last 8 years, she served as our First Lady. Now, as her husband prepares to leave office, Ann LePage reflects on her time at the Blaine House.
this is News Center Now. There's one more name on the Maine Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Wall in Augusta, Nathan Desjardins. Hello everybody, I'm Lee Goldberg.
And I'm Lindsay Mills. His family, supporters, politicians, and law enforcement gathered for a ceremony in Augusta to honor the young fallen officer. Corporal Eugene Cole was also honored at the service. The Somerset County Sheriff's deputy was shot and killed in the line of duty in April. His name will not be added to the wall until next year. Fryeburg police officer Nathan Desjardins was killed in a boat search and rescue mission on the Saco River in May of 2017. He was only 20 years old and would have graduated college this weekend. His parents say he lived his short life doing what he loved, helping others.
Nathan was a compassionate, driven, loving, kind young man. He had a lot of hopes and dreams. I think Nathan, in his short life, did a lot of service for others, and he lived for that.
There are now 85 officers who have been killed in the line of duty that are honored on the memorial in Maine. Robert Schwartz, the chief of the Maine Police Association, says in order to qualify, an officer has to have been killed in some type of violent altercation on duty. That is not sitting well with the families of fallen officers who do not qualify to be on the Maine wall.
So we want to hear from you. Do you think Maine should change the criteria to include all officers killed on duty on its memorial wall, or keep the rules the way they are now? Go to pulse.newscentermaine.com or select the Pulse tab on our mobile app.
So yesterday, we brought you the story of one officer not on the memorial, Chris Gardner. He died as a result of a training injury in 2016. His family is pushing to get his name added. He's not the only one. Christina Rex joins us now. Christina, there are multiple families who want to see their fallen officers honored.
Yeah, there are, Lee and Lindsay, and the stories go back decades. Today, I spoke with a man who died on duty back in 1966. Now, his name is on the National Monument in D.C. and a monument in Westbrook, but not on that state wall in Augusta.
My uncle was a dedicated policeman.
Pearlie Kenny served as a Westbrook police officer for 21 years until August 11th, 1966. He had rushed to a call and carried a pregnant woman down several flights of stairs. Moments later, he died of a heart attack.
He should be here on this wall with the rest of the Maine heroes.
Pearlie Kenny's name is not on Maine's memorial wall. His nephew, Tim Libby, a retired Falmouth officer, has fought for years to get his uncle honored, only to be told his death didn't qualify.
My uncle didn't die a violent enough death. That was a quote from him, and that always stuck with me.
News Center Maine obtained copies of the application criteria for officers. Nowhere does it mention that a death must be violent. The application reads that an officer must have died as a direct and proximate result of a personal injury in the line of duty. Still, board members say each case is taken to a vote and the threshold is strict.
There's much in the detail and much in the very tough decision making on behalf of the committee, how we apply that criteria, and some officers we have decided have met that higher standard, others have not.
Tim Libby says he doesn't want to distract from the officers on the wall who make the ultimate sacrifice. But he does want to see every officer killed on duty, like his late uncle, honored in a similar fashion.
So Stephen Bunker Bunker from the Police Officers Memorial Committee says the guidelines have not changed in the 27 years that he's been on the committee since its inception. And there are no plans to change them right now, but he does say the committee is always open to discussions.
All right, Christina, thanks so much. Our Pulse poll will be running throughout the show today. To vote, open up our mobile app and select the Pulse tab. You can also go to pulse.newscentermaine.com.
All right, taking a look outside. Another nice one on tap for tomorrow. At least that's what the rumor is. I'm not sure, though, about the weekend, Casey.
I'm good for it. The weekend's a different story. But, you know, today was warmer. Tomorrow will be sunnier. But we got pretty mild today into the, hold on a second. Let's not jump the gun here. Into the 70s. Still 71 in Sanford, 77 in Freiburg. But today was one of the few days we've had in the last couple of weeks in which the coastline got into the 70s as well. You can feel a creep of humidity back up there. Nothing crazy, but dew points in the 50s to right around 60 by later on tonight. And then we kind of bring that humidity back down by tomorrow. You'll notice that it feels a little bit more comfortable. Some fast-moving clouds over southern Maine. Those are actually associated with a big chunk of moisture to our south that we're going to hold off for one more day. But look at the speed of this. You can see the upper atmosphere just whizzing by across York and Cumberland County. So those clouds around tonight, but most of us are clear. By tomorrow morning, everybody is sunny. We're sunny through the entire day. Temperatures, though, have a hard time. Upper 50s, right around 60 degrees will do it despite full sunshine. And then we'll be watching Saturday. We have the rain timing nailed down pretty good now for Saturday. We'll talk more about that in just a few minutes, guys.
The Department of Corrections denies that an 11-year-old boy was assaulted by corrections officers at the Long Creek Youth Development Center. I'm Chris Costa with your top headlines. In new court paperwork, the Department of Corrections denies that the officers assaulted the boy or used excessive force while restraining him during an outburst in his cell. The ACLU of Maine filed a complaint back in March, backed by an independent audit of the Juvenile Detention Center that cited a case of excessive force. The Department of Corrections says they cannot officially comment on this pending litigation. The ACLU stands by their allegations. Hawaii's Kilauea volcano erupted today, pushing ash and debris 6 miles into the sky. Residents were warned to shelter in place, and driving was discouraged because of low visibility. Lava has been flowing down the mountain for days. This is the biggest explosion so far, but experts warn that a bigger blast may be on the way. A $1,000 reward for any information that leads to the arrest of these vandals caught on camera fleeing a Poland bus lot. Police say the suspects slashed the tires on 22 RSU-16 school buses, causing $12,000 worth of damage and canceling class for an entire day. Lee and Lindsay.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. So this does not apply to me, but probably to you. Most people have said things that they regret on social media.
To be important next year, and as you get older, you're going to have more and more things to say.
Learning how not to be a keyboard warrior. That's Lee. It's a lesson happening right now in Maine classrooms.
Fake news.
That's next.
Fake news.
It's fun to kind of get the real story behind Mainers.
There's an honesty, a genuineness that I think really does set people in Maine apart.
Can kids be trusted with social media? It's a question that parents ask nationwide every single day.
Social media is the epitome of a double-edged sword. It can be powerful and dangerous. Chris Costa shows us how one teacher in York is introducing her own method to show kids how to stay safe online.
You're receiving a long text message from a close friend.
These middle schoolers are facing an all too common situation.
Wait until the morning until face-to-face. I think that would be the best one.
Deciding how to handle conflicts between peers and if social media is an appropriate course of action.
It's definitely not an effective way to communicate.
School resource officer Jamie Roby teaches digital citizenship at York Middle School, integrating the new reality. Social media is not just a toy. It's a tool.
You can't read whether or not someone's upset. Now,
a medium where emotion can be ambiguous.
Yeah, as simple as like writing something like I don't care, but it can, like, you might be like I don't really care which one, but they might think like, oh, he's saying I don't care about that.
That drama can escalate.
Let's go, tough guy! I'll beat your skull in!
Social media posts like this one can even bring criminal charges.
Running like a
This Waterville man posted a video of himself chasing another man around in his car, threatening him, after altercations online and in person.
All those in favor?
Or the case of the town manager in Jackman, fired from his position after posting racist messages on his social media pages.
Community that they live in as well.
Or Nick Isgro, the Waterville mayor who drew criticism for tweeting "Eat it" in reference to one of the activists in the Parkland, Florida shooting. All instances where posts on social media got adults in trouble.
I have Snapchat, but that's it. When I do start using it, it'll be helpful because I know how to do it responsibly.
I think it's good that we're learning of how to use it safely and correctly.
In York, Chris Costa, News Center, Maine.
Officer Roby hopes to take her model and expand it into other districts in the state.
Never, ever, ever be too careful with that stuff. All right, don't forget to vote in our Pulse poll today. Should we change the criteria for Maine law enforcement memorial? Go to pulse.newscentermaine.com or open up our mobile apps and select the Pulse tab. We will have your results at the end of the show.
And join the conversation right now on Facebook Live. She served as Maine's First Lady for almost 8 years now.
There's a side of Paul LePage that people just don't have any idea about.
From her husband to her work with veterans and a lot of things in between, we sit down for a chat with Ann LePage next on Now.
And we might need some umbrellas this weekend. Keith is tracking the rain next in his forecast. Can we even pay you?
Us Mainers, we see a lot of Governor LePage on television since, of course, he has a very public job.
Yeah, but we don't get to see a lot of his wife. First Lady Ann LePage prefers the sidelines over the spotlight, but she did recently take some time to sit down with me and chat about her work with veterans as well as her romantic husband.
You know, I often say I wasn't probably the most conventional First Lady. I wanted to do it my way.
And that she has done. From her first Wreaths Across America trip that spanned hundreds of miles.
And I asked Paul if he would mind if I did the trip, but I wanted to do it in the tractor-trailer trucks. And he looked at me like, are you crazy? But he let me go.
Then changing her mind about the trucks.
I said, Paul, I really want to bring awareness to this. I said, can I do it on the back of a motorcycle? Again, he looks at me like I have 4 heads, but he said, Ann, go ahead and do it.
Then, of course, when she was challenged by Army veteran and advocate Travis Mills.
And Travis says, well, I'll skydive if the First Lady skydives with me. So I asked Paul again, and he said, if you want to do it, Ann, go ahead and do it.
I wasn't scared at all.
You lie. You lie.
Working with veterans and their families has been the First Lady's cause of choice, if you will. In her almost 8 years in the Blaine House, LePage has been front and center for some emotional moments for Mainers, like that first Wreaths Across America trip.
We were going over the Tappan Zee Bridge, and there was a boat in the water with a huge flag. They were waiting for the convoy, and as we were going by, they were saluting us, and they had their hands on their hearts. And it's almost like at that point, it makes you think that's everything right about this country.
Investing in military veterans and their families can be very personal. The First Lady remembers one time when she worked with some Maine carvers on the Eagle Cane project and presented a cane to a vet who was very sick.
We surprised him, and then the following week I got a note from his son, and he said, you have no idea how special that was for him. He died holding his cane. Never talked about what he did, but that cane was everything to him.
Governor and Commander-in-Chief of the state of Maine, the Honorable Paul R. LePage.
When it comes to the LePages as a couple, theirs is a love story that dates back decades. Married since 1984, the governor has never been bashful about sharing his feelings about his bride, even in public.
First of all, she looks gorgeous. And in case I forget, happy Valentine's Day.
That's the man that I married. There's a side of Paul LePage that people just don't have any idea about. He really is a softie.
And as the LePages enter their final months in the Blaine House, the First Lady has spent some time thinking back on what a wild ride the last 8 years has been.
When it's all said and done, it truly has been an honor to be here and to represent Maine. Yeah, there were some challenges, and it's not always positive, but other than that, it's been an honor. but I'm ready to turn it over.
And the First Lady will be honored next month by the organization Canines on the Front Line for all of her work with veterans over the years. And she was wonderful.
What
I
a
mean,
great
we had
story.
a blast talking. I could have stayed there all day, so she was great.
Well, Lee, Keith, speaking of canines, house training a dog, I've been very happy that it's been warm out, you know, throughout the night in the early morning hours, that when we're taking the dog out, so often it's nice out.
Even a good dog on a rainy day, you might have a fight on your hands. I call it a poop standoff. It happens. It has to be raining pretty hard, but Reese is just like, I'm just not going.
It's got a name.
Yeah.
I didn't know it had a name.
He won't go in the house, but he'll hold it for like a day and a half to avoid the rain. So luckily we haven't had that in a while. It's been relatively dry. What are you looking at me like that, Lee? Come on.
What dog is that?
You have
4
dogs.
Yeah, but none of them are not wimpy enough to go outside.
I know.
Go outside.
My dog's this big, dude. Come on. Yeah. 75 in Sanford officially today, 71 in Portland. There haven't been that many warm days along the coastline. Today was one of them. A lot of clear skies out there, some quick moving high thin clouds over southern coastal Maine. That is the edge, the peripheral, if you will, of a much larger storm system. I'll show you in a second. But you can see in Damariscotta some of those high thin clouds got a little lens flare, so it's a little hard to see. But if this was a little bit faster refresh rate, you'd see the speed of those clouds in the upper atmosphere racing by along the coastline. Otherwise, though, a nice night going on right now. There it is, that big chunk of moisture, and it's been sitting down here for a couple of days. It's been looking like it was going to rain, but this is why the computer models are so helpful a lot of the time, because it's been suppressed to our south despite the appearance that it's moving in. So tomorrow's another dry day before this rain gets here on Saturday afternoon into Saturday night. So clear tonight for most of us. Temperatures relatively mild to start and then dropping into the 30s and 40s by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow is a bright day, but it is on the cool side with temperatures only in the upper 50s to around 60 for a high, and that's with full sunshine. So a little bit on the cool side for this time of the year. And then Saturday, we have a better grip of the timing of our rain on Saturday. I think we start the day Saturday with clear skies over much of the state, but watch these clouds roll in here Saturday midday, and then the rain from southwest to northeast Saturday afternoon into the evening, raining pretty heavily at times overnight Saturday, and then clearing out Sunday with just a couple of showers, maybe a rumble of thunder on Sunday afternoon. We will, though, get a decent amount of rain out of this system, over an inch in spots, which is not such a bad thing. We're actually right about dead average here for rainfall so far, so we'll just keep that on rolling. So, you know, if you live across northern Maine, most of Saturday will be in good shape. If you're in southern Maine, it'll be Saturday afternoon it starts raining. Rains everywhere Saturday night. Sunday's not bad, isolated shower. After that, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday all look good. And again, we're continuing with a pretty high ratio of dry to wet days for spring. Nothing hot, but nothing unusually cool either.
It looks like the three of us might have a cold on Monday.
Yeah. And didn't you touch the
Sunny
baby?
and 77. I feel like I'm not coming down with something.
Right, good point.
Yeah, just saying. All right, thank you, sir. Cindy Williams with a preview of what's coming up next at 5:30. Hey, Cindy.
Hi, guys. Medical marijuana is a legal business in Maine, a very legitimate big business, but growers don't really have anywhere to stash their money because of conflicts between banks and federal pot laws. So is that making them more of a target for crime? We're going to have that story coming up next. And Maine business owners say they need more foreign workers, and the federal government needs to pick up the pace when it comes to work visas. How this could affect tourism season. Those stories and much more ahead. Back to you.
Cindy, thanks so much. Bitcoin is supposed to be the way of the future, but actually it's slowly killing our environment. Keith is in with Brain Drops when we come back.
Bitcoin, not just a get-rich-quick scheme for some lucky early adapters, but also the future of global currency, right? What if I told you Bitcoin is an environmental disaster? See, the problem stems from all the processing power needed for mining. To generate a Bitcoin, a miner must solve a math problem. But this math problem isn't exactly 2 + 2. It's extremely complex, and therefore it must be calculated with very powerful processors. And therein lies the energy drain via computers and cooling them. So how bad is it? Well, if Bitcoin were a country, it would land 42nd in the world for energy consumption between Switzerland and the Czech Republic. Amazing. But wait, what would Bitcoin's flag look like exactly? All right, moving on. Now, you could argue, rightly so, that all currency requires energy, but the scale in Bitcoin is way out of whack. Consider that estimates for global banking, including currency production, credit cards, and ATMs, sits around 100 terawatt hours per year. Bitcoins, meanwhile, sit around 60, which doesn't sound so bad until you realize the global system handles roughly 7,000 times more digital transactions per day while only using about 2 times the energy. Which leads to the stat that one Bitcoin transaction is the energy equivalent to several 100,000 Visa transactions. Now, onto the environmental side of this. All of that energy has to come from somewhere. Luckily, some of the biggest mining farms are located in a part of China that draws heavily from relatively efficient hydropower. But even factoring that in, Bitcoin pumps 33,000 kilotons of CO2 into the atmosphere each year. So again, if it were a country, it'd be polluting more than 192 other nations. So is there hope for the future of Bitcoin? Sure. Processors and their cooling systems get more efficient year after year. But right now, that's just not keeping up with the increased activity on the currency. So for now, Bitcoin is an environmental nightmare in the making. And you can use that as an excuse to dislike it, even if it's really about a missed opportunity in 2011 to become a millionaire with about $100.
All right, from Keith's favorite topic to now my favorite topic. Prince Harry and American actress Meghan Markle arrived in Windsor today, where they will be married in just 2 days. Final preparations are underway. Today there was a final dress rehearsal. After the couple say their vows, they will ride through Windsor in a horse-drawn carriage. Members of the military will march in the procession to honor Prince Harry's military service. Crowds have been gathering for days, eager to wave to the royal family as they ride by.
It's colourful. See so many people come together from all walks of life, different countries, even people who live locally that don't come here that often.
We've all been waiting for Harry. If his mum was alive now, Diana, she really would be proud of the pair.
And don't you worry, you can get your entire royal wedding coverage right here on News Center Maine, starting at 4:30 in the morning. Oh, wow. Straight through until 11 o'clock a.m. 6.5 hours, like the Super Bowl, of wedding coverage. Are we going to fly? You want to fly to London and cover this?
I wish, but maybe I'll set my alarm and wake up bright and early to watch it, because I did that for the other royal wedding with Kate and William so long ago.
How was that? Was it worth it?
You know, it's funny. I was actually working at the time, and I snuck off into a corner to like watch it on a small screen, but as did many other people. I'm sure I'm not alone. But hey, kudos to our team in the morning. They've been airing a different royal wedding related story every single morning this week, and have found some really interesting tie-ins in Maine.
Okay.
So
I don't want to take away your joy, so we're just going to leave that one alone. Let's take a look at our poll results right now. Should we change the criteria for the Maine Law Enforcement Memorial? And 77% of you said absolutely we should do that. 23 of you said no, leave it alone.
And thank you for everyone who joined the conversation on Facebook. News Center Maine at 5:30 starts right now.